Switch gears here for a little bit, Dylan. We're going to do a little unraveling of your traveling, a segment we do here at H&N Digital. Today, we got a brand new interview in-house from CNN, from Delta Airlines CEO. He's really talking about the airline industry as a whole and that looming threat of a pilot strike for Delta.
The possibility of a recession. People are still spending money on travel.
Yeah.
Do you think it's part of the reason for your success because you stand up for the values of your employees and what you believe in?
I think people love the brand. They primarily love our people. And it's the people that make the difference in our business, in the airline business. It's a service business. And so
what's the lesson for other people? You said people love your brand. And if you were not true to your brand, we've seen people in companies who are not true to their brand and they lose their loyal customers. They lose their fans, their fan base.
Yeah. And we carry 200 million people a year. So we have a large international fan base, if you think about it. But if you're out there and you're talking and speaking to your customers and your people about what you are for rather than what you are against, when something happens, you get into trouble when people are surprised. They say, where did that come from? That's when trouble hits. But if there's something that's consistent with what you talk about, so you're always trying to play offense in this area. You're always talking about what you're for so that people won't be surprised about who you are when you have to speak.
And of course, all this factors into your day-to-day decisions. I know one question that people have had about the industry is, when do you think it's going to be back to 2019 flight levels? And does that factor into Delta adding more flights going through Atlanta? Because one big concern that people have had is affordability.
Yeah.
Because prices have skyrocketed, and it's really hard. People have to travel. They really have no option but to do airline travel. But it's hard to afford it right now for a lot of people.
I mean, look up the numbers are up on the screen now.
There are three things. First of all, the demand is already back, the raw demand. The interest in travel, and you can see that. Everyone felt once the pandemic subsided, they needed to go someplace. And by the way, whatever price it took, they needed to get out. So the demand is driving the principal factor in pricing. Fuel prices. Our fuel prices are 50% above where they were in 2019.
Wow.
That's our single biggest cost. It's not even people, it's fuel prices. That also has to be covered in the pricing. And the third thing is that we're not all the way back yet. So we're going to grow 15% between now and next summer. And a lot of that growth is going into Atlanta. And so that's going to take some of the pressure off pricing to bring all the routes back. But we don't want to grow until we have the resources capable of handling that high demand.
And part of the reason flights are really expensive also is there's less capacity, right? But that's very frustrating when you're on planes and you feel like they're very full and it costs a lot. This summer, I just want to reflect, if you could, on this summer. The flight woes, what Americans went through on travel, the back and forth between you guys and the Biden administration, Secretary Buttigieg, namely. What's the lesson from all of that? And are we past it for good, do you think?
I'm not sure there's a real lesson. I mean, we're overcoming a pandemic.
Right.
Yeah.
We started the year with Omicron.
Yeah.
Right, the first couple months of the year. And then once Omicron seemed like it wasn't going to be and we were only 50% full, by the way, at that time. We went from 50% full to 100% full overnight.
You kept your middle seats empty, I think, longer than anyone.
We did.
You hired a chief medical officer.
Yeah.
But you're having it's the same issue for you as oil companies. You see oil companies, Americans see oil companies, the prices of gas going up, and they see oil companies making record profits. They see airline prices going up, but yet they see you on here saying, we're doing well.
Yeah.
So
we're doing well on revenue. We're not anywhere close to record profits. I just want to be clear that we're down meaningfully in terms of profits because we don't have our full demand set back in terms of the utilization of the aircraft, and fuel prices are really, really high.
Is it talk about possible inflation? Is that hurting you at all? Do you think that hurts or helps?
On the margin, the thing with inflation is also there's currency effects. And so the other thing we're seeing more demand to Europe.
Did I say inflation? I mean possible recession. Sorry, go on. But the possibility of a recession, is that?
Well, I think it's more of a business traveler that would be mindful of that. But business travel is already down. The other thing with the recession is that typically when recessions hit, oil prices start to subside.
Right.
And so we're a bit hedged for that.
Quickly, can we ask you about seat sizes?
Caitlin wants to know.
This is a big thing that people do care about because they feel like the seats are getting smaller. I know you said Delta has not made their seats smaller.
Right.
The FAA, you believe this is ultimately up to them. Should they regulate the seat sizes, though?
Well, the FAA already tests seat sizes and they test compliance. Anytime you change anything on an aircraft, the FAA has to approve it.
Right.
Delta hasn't changed seat sizes in years. In fact, the only changes we've made is to make them bigger, extra room. Every plane we're taking today, and this year we'll take probably 75 planes, we're having 1/3 of our planes with extra large seating, wider seating, Delta One, Comfort Plus, Premium. So that's where the economy is going. If there was a lesson, you were talking about lessons from the pandemic, one of the real lessons of people value their experience on our brand.
Yeah.
And so and by the way, they're willing to pay a premium for that.
Did you think you'd be able to get out of, when you were leading during COVID, I know there were days when you were wondering what is going to happen here. Did you think you'd be sitting here and the company would be where it is today after all that?
I was confident we'd get there. We came back a little sooner than I thought.